Hello, everyone. Welcome back to From Within She Rises. This week is a start of a new series, a reviving, if you will, to a new series. And I welcome you back to the Sabbath Spiral. I don't know if you remember this, but I think it's very potent and beautiful and aligned that last year on Pentecost, I had this huge revelation. I had felt called to pull up the liturgy and to start doing like a Sabbath Spiral every Sunday and posting a podcast that had to do with the liturgy and what it means through my lens, what it means through me, and just to like sit in the downloads and just like verbal diarrhea them for you. And I did that for a few weeks. And it's interesting because that was the day when I pulled up that liturgy where I was like, OMG, I actually had this experience already. I had Pentecost happen to me. And it's been a while, and now we're reflecting it a little bit deeper because it's Pentecost again. And we're pulling up the liturgy, and we're going to do this every week because actually I have been doing this every week, but inside of Breath of God. So if you don't know, I have a beautiful co-created community with my friend Juan, and it's called the Mystic Misfits. It's a free community inside of school. If you're not already in it, you should definitely go join us. And every week, it's been on Fridays, now it's on Sundays, I have been doing a Breath of God, little mini breath work, and we chat and kind of like on the spot coaching essentially is, I guess, how it turned out. But the last few weeks I've been called again to pull back in and really talk about, have like a preaching moment, because I know most of my calls like that do end up turning into preaching moments, but instead of just pulling it out of my butt, like, let's look at the liturgy. Let's look at what the words actually mean. And I'm not talking like pulling up all the Greek every time, but sometimes I will do that if I'm like, I don't know what the heck this means. But sometimes I'll just know. Most of the time it'll click and I'll be like, oh my God, this is what it's saying. So I have decided to move it to Sundays, and I've decided to throw it in here as well as a podcast episode. So I will every Sunday be dropping the Breath of God as the Sabbath Spiral. You will not be getting the community aspect of it. You'll just be getting my teaching, and you will be getting the breath. So this particular one will be done a little bit differently. So whenever you drop into a Sabbath Spiral, you will be breathing at the end for a longer period of time instead of the beginning for a body drop in. So I hope you enjoy the ride, and I will see you on the other side. Yes, today's topic is like Pentecost, but I feel like children in general, once you start realizing that the activation is actually the doorway into you integrating yourself, it kind of shifts everything. And then when you have children, you have lots of those moments where it's like, oh, I can go and I can meditate for an hour in the morning, but am I gonna actually do that in real time and not flip out at my child when she colors all over the back of my couch? And it was not even the back; it was like the full, got like a big sectional, and she drew on one armrest and on the other armrest. At least she made it even. She like framed the couch with crayon. So that was a fun time for everyone. For me, definitely. Today we are going to talk about Pentecost. At the very beginning of it, it says that they were all gathered together as one. And that, not only just like the idea of Pentecost in general and what does it mean, because I think all of us, if we're in this community, have probably had some really beautiful mystical experiences and have probably touched the energy that is God, that is universe, whatever you're calling it for yourself. But what's the difference here? Because the way my mind works is like, okay, what is the nervous system in that moment? What is like the psychological, what is the psyche doing? And I really do think that that time leading up to in the Bible where Christ dies to the point where they have the Holy Spirit to drop in is a time where they're integrating, right? Because we talked about this last week inside of Breath of God, but they're Christ isn't saying, okay, take them out of this, take them out of the human experience. He's saying, let them wait and be ready and stay, right? Like this whole period in between those two states is asking them to build the capacity to stay, to build the coherence that they're able to actually stabilize when they have the mystical experience. And I think that's what isn't talked about enough in the spiritual community is the idea of like, it's great, it's beautiful when you go and you have this mystical experience, but can you stabilize in it? Can you actually become the being that can hold all of that energy, that can hold the vision? Whether it's you having um the initial mystical experience, whether it's like feeling full bodied, feeling that unconditional love where you're like, oh my God, I can't go back from this. But the thing is, a lot of us do go back from that because we go into this like negative self-talk, and we go into these states where now we're just like constantly seeking the next spiritual hit, if we, I guess we could call it that. Um, when really what this is pointing us to is actually learning and teaching the nervous system to stay. And it's even doing something more radical, because I think we get told very frequently that we need to teach our nervous system to come back to stillness in the activating moments. In fact, like that's what we started this conversation with, was my 2-year-old drawing with the navy crayon on my bright orange. It's not bright, but it's like burnt orange couch. It was very obvious, and that obviously, like in a negative way, activating ourselves. But I don't know about you guys, but having a beautiful mystical experience, having that like moment where my energy touches the energy of the whole, touches the energy of God, and all of a sudden I'm feeling this unconditional love. That's not what I would call an activation in a negative sense. It's still an activation, though. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference. And so we often get told and get taught to stabilize our nervous system so that we can be in the messy bullshit that is this beautiful human experience and then come back to our center. But what we don't talk about enough is the fact that that beautiful mystical experience is also pulling you out of your center, and you need to build the capacity to stay in that expansiveness as well. It's not just about teaching your nervous system, can I stay when shit hits the fan? Can I stay when I also feel so activated and excited that my nervous system can't tell the difference between the two? And that's what it's pointing to here. Building the capacity for you to stay when you have these beautiful experiences, for you to come back into your center and to move forward with the vision, whatever that is. And that could be like when you have, maybe you're sitting here and you have some sort of clarity, you get downloads in some way, whether it's visions, whether it's just knowings. Me personally is more of a knowing, whether it's in your dreams, whether it's just like when you're meditating, whether it's conscious in real life, you're having visions, whatever it is. A lot of us get stuck in like feeling the expansiveness, having the downloads, and they go nowhere. The reason why they go nowhere is because your system still thinks that this is an activation. Doesn't think it's normal. You haven't built the capacity to stay, whether it's in the messy middle or it's the expansive oneness. Excuse me, I have like a cough this week. I also this week got a cold from my 11-year-old. The beauty of having 4 kids, there's always something to teach me. Um, and so yeah, this week is really telling us to go and build the capacity to stay in like the messy middle, but also the beautiful expansion. Because if you can start to ground yourself in the expansion, then you can actually start to bring this vision that you have in your mind into reality. And that's also, if you're thinking like on the small scale in terms of manifestation, for anyone who likes divine nods, it's 11:11 on the clock. um, for anyone who like likes the idea of manifestation, that's also the same thing. If your nervous system, if you're manifesting this big thing and your nervous system feels activated every time you think about it, it also needs to feel normal. It has to feel normal or it's not going to let it in. So yes, these beautiful expansive experiences are amazing. We want to be able to have them. But if you want to stop chasing them and you want to start embodying them, you want to start actually bringing them into your day-to-day life, then it has to start feeling normal for you. I remember my friend asking me like a few months ago, and he was like, what do you think the difference was? Because a lot of people have these expansive experiences and they don't stabilize. And I had already been doing like the self-worth work and the grounding work and the nervous system work for years, because I'm somebody who has endometriosis, but I'm somebody who has spent the last decade basically being asymptomatic. So is it curable? No, but I don't even notice that I have it anymore, because I've done, like, to me, it was very tied to nervous system dysregulation, which I think most things are tied to nervous system dysregulation, because that's what's pulling you out of coherence. The nervous system is like, to me, is the protective system. One might say like your ego is the protective system of your identity and your mind. Then the nervous system is the protective system of the identity of your body. and it's protecting you however it needs to. And so, like, to me, it was very much the being able to stabilize. How did I stabilize? Because I had already taught my nervous system that it was okay to stay in this, right? And I didn't go chasing, and I was like, okay, this has to be normal. It's coming back into your center. And so, as unglamorous as it is, this is really pointing us to how do we learn to stay? How do we work on the nervous system regulation, both in the good and in the bad? It's both always coming back to center and living heart centered. And you hear that very frequently. What is it to live heart centered? Now, I don't know. Just to make choices that are loving, but to live your life by being led by the heart, by being in alignment, by being able to come to regulate yourself in all of the aspects of life. So it's actually not as glamorous as one might think. The shadow side of this is when we start to think of like, this is shadow work in a sense, right? Nervous system is the same. Like you would think that in a sense, because everything's all connected and we're all trying to bring language to something that is literally beyond language. And the ego, the shadow work of how we typically see shadow work would be of the mind, right? We're trying to like source the root of the unconscious belief that we have. And nervous system is kind of like the body end of things. We're trying to come back into not stillness in a detached sort of way, but coming back into your grounded body and being like, oh, wait, I'm safe here. I'm safe to be here. I'm safe to be here in the activation that is both good and that is both bad. I'm safe to stay here because the actual stillness that I think we're sometimes taught is detachment, but then that doesn't teach your body that it's safe to stay. If we're just detaching from that thing, it says, I can't feel that. So let's dissociate. We don't want dissociation. We want integration. My body feels so safe that I can stay in this messiness, that I can stay in this activation and not get pulled out of my body. It's almost like when you are in these beautiful, expansive experiences, can you come back and ground into the body? Can it be both? Can you be both self and the whole? And it's interesting because I think that's where we get stuck. But the reality of it is that you need a very grounded and centered self in order to actually embody and live from non-duality, from how we're being taught in the Bible or in other things where there are a lot of spiritual teachers that teach us non-duality, but they don't walk the walk because it's not about dissociating from the self. It's about integrating both. You got to be both in order for you to truly believe and to truly embody the non-duality, living from the downloads, the bringing visions into reality. You have to have a very sovereign self. And when you have a very sovereign self that's regulated and centered, you also are offering that to others, right? Somebody who is sovereign and understands where their energy is being pulled and comes back into their center, brings their peace back in. They are still from that place offering the peace to others. They're not attacking them. They're not getting into arguments where it's like, actually, my beliefs are the only beliefs. They're coming back to self. And so when we see this as like, also, this is shadow work, this is another piece of the puzzle, which we get collectively stuck in this chasing the bad. And I think that's where people get burnt out, not only from like chasing the good of it, but we start chasing the bad. Like, oh, I need to self-reflect more. Oh, I need to do this more. And oh, I need to figure out exactly what the problem is you start now in circles where we're focusing more on shadow work, we start to almost only see the negative in ourselves, which is not what we want. We've gone from like one side to the other. We don't want to be on the other side. We want to be in the middle. And in the middle, for me anyways, it's been about realizing that it's coming back to presence in the moment, right? That actually the doorway that is an activation, the shadow work in the moment will come. The initiation will drop into my awareness when it's ready to drop into my awareness. I actually don't have to go looking for it. My daughter's going to color on the couch on the exact moment that I need it to active for me to sit with some other part of myself. The activation will come when you are ready to see that part of your deep subconscious basement. And from that place, it becomes less of like, oh my God, let's deconstruct. I need to find everything that's wrong with me. I need to like chase all of these things. And like, it's all about self-development, but it's like coming back to meaning what is present and ripe to be seen now. So now from this place, every time I get activated, I'm like, oh, wait, there's a doorway here. What part of me is begging to be seen? What part of me is ready to be seen? And from this place, I'm no longer trying to do all this shadow work and figure out what's wrong with me. And I'm actually like, hey, I'm meeting people with presence and love and incoherence. And I'm like actually present in my life and in my relationships. So they're getting a better version of me, not the one that's constantly like, oh, let me figure out exactly what's wrong. Let me find like the root under the root cause under the root cause under the root cause, which is very much my brain. But now I'm like, oh, I can be present. And then when I get activated, I can like, okay, my body is safe. I'm safe to feel this. I don't have to project it. And now let me meet myself. And you're not going to do that perfectly every time. Sometimes you're going to react. And then that's an opportunity to come back later and be like, okay, you could do a stock of your day if you want, but less of like, let me constantly look at what's wrong, but like, okay, I yelled at my daughter today. Like, why? What was lying underneath? Or there becomes a certain place in that threshold where you don't need a story anymore. And you actually have created enough safety in your body where you're like, I was activated and I can release that and I can come back. And that's not a dissociative step. There's still like pieces of you that you're meeting. I was scared. But you need less of a story and less of a like going all the way down to the root cause. So yeah, it's very much we want integration, and we want to be able to realize that everything that is ripe to be met will be in the present moment. So that's really what I see this time leading up from when there's the crucifixion happening in the Bible to right now in today's readings. If you're going into church, it is all about Pentecost. It's all about what is happening. It's all about them receiving the Holy Spirit, and they stabilize, right? They go off and they do their thing and they spread the vision. And the question is, are you one of those people that's getting all these ideas and actually embodying them and actually walking the walk and actually sharing them? Do you feel safe enough to? Because there's a part in the Bible that says we're all chosen, but like we also don't all choose back. That's not how it's said, but that's how it comes through in my mind is like the opportunity is there for all of us to step forth, to come into alignment, to be connected in that way where you're in this flow. But it's a hard surrender. And are we still choosing it? Are we going to choose it? Are we going to come back to center? And I think about my own. I actually, it, it was literally on Pentecost last year where I had this like, oh my God. I had this idea where I was like, I'm going to start doing like a podcast episode every Saturday or Sunday, and it's going to be on whatever like the liturgy is for the week. I'm just going to pull it up. I'm going to read it. I'm going to see whatever like downloads I get, and I'm just going to come and I'm going to share them. And I did it for a couple of weeks, and then I stopped. It was like I went into burnout. I had not built the capacity to actually live from that place. And it's interesting because I've been already been doing this for a few weeks here and back inside of Breath of God. But now I'm like, oh, I should pull out all of the community aspects of this and actually still share this as a podcast episode. But I remember it was that day where I was like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I pull up the reading and I go and I read it and I'm like, holy shit, that is exactly what I experienced and it was like to the day on Easter. It was Easter Sunday when I did this like beautiful ritual to connect to self and to connect to God. And then 2 days later, I'm sitting in my self-healing Reiki and I see Jesus and my throat is burning and I'm just feeling this unconditional love and there's just tears just pouring down my face and both of our hands are placed on my throat. And I then realized Pentecost, I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened to me because it was like my crown just like opened up and I just started knowing things that I couldn't possibly know, knowing things about the way that Jung explains archetypes and like depth psychology that I'm like, I've never studied this. Why do I know it? Like, why am I so tapped into the field? And I then focused my energy on grounding. There was still a lot of months here after this realization where I was still looking for certainty outside of myself. For anybody who gets downloads in the way that it's just something and it doesn't make sense for you to know it. The claircognizance is what a lot of people call it. I think like the biggest shadow is that you're still trying to get somebody to say it first. You're still trying to find certainty somewhere. And that's where I sat for a lot of months where I was like, Somebody needs to know this in this way that is coming into my brain. And like somebody needs to know it first. I need to find it in a book first. I need to hear it in a podcast. I need to see it like some verse in the Bible that's going to make it click for me. And it's going to be like, oh, that's the thing that I know. And I'm going to share it. So there was still like there was still a very deep integration piece. And so things don't happen exactly always. They don't always happen exactly the same way, because as we see it for the disciples, they had this like experience, and the Holy Spirit doesn't come until they're ready, until they've already stabilized. For me, I had this experience, and then I was like, oh my God, I need to stabilize. But the pattern underneath is the same. If you want to actually embody the shit that's coming out of your mouth, if you want to embody non-duality, if you actually want to take these beautiful manifestations that you're creating, if you want to take these downloads that you're having and actually like, maybe you're having a download of how like the world is supposed to look, and you want to actually be part of making the world look the way the way it looks in your mind, the way you know it should be. It takes grounding. It takes coming back to center. It takes feeling safe enough in your body that you can not only come back to yourself when it doesn't go right, but when it's going right, you can tell your body it's safe to be here. Because until your body starts to understand that it is safe to be in the expansion, it's going to keep contracting back. And that's why a lot of us have these beautiful experiences, but they don't stabilize. And then we get lost because all of a sudden you're now chasing the high of the experience, the high of the low of the shadow work. And it's like this back and forth until finally you go back into the wound that's lying underneath all of us, which is like, I need certainty, when what you really need is surrender and faith and safety to actually embody that surrender and faith, not just talk about it. And eventually we go back to, let me outsource my authority. And the fact of the matter is, going back to all of this, is that we can't actually embody non-duality in the way that the divine in me bows to the divine in you. Not in a like, I'm sovereign and I'm offering you sovereignty because you're a sovereign being too. We can't actually embody we are one. We can't embody the rule of one until we are sovereign beings of the self, until your body feels safe enough to stay in that expansion that it feels like to be and live from the law of one, the law of we are all one energy underneath. And so it is not just about, it's not just about building the capacity to stay in the messy, crayon-filled chaos. Maybe it's not crayons for you. Maybe it's doodles dumping your coffee, which is also one of my favorite things in life. Not my favorite things, but it is an initiation that comes often. Maybe it's something completely different. But it's also, I have built the safety in my body to stay when feels so good. And I'm going to teach my body that this is what normal feels like. Because until your body understands and trusts that that's what normal feels like, it's not going to let you feel it normally. It's going to be an experience that you experience here and there. And that's it. And what we want is all of us to be experiencing this all the time. So the work is both like in collective, in meeting each other with sovereignty, and also working on being the safe sovereign being that can hold all of that. If you want to be one of the um lighthouses, if you will, if you want to be like one of the sealed ones in the book of Revelation that are sitting there crying and saying, how long, Lord? Because you're already holding the light. That means you're also embodying it. We can't just talk the talk, because that's literally like, if we're being fair, that's literally the only thing that is called out by Yeshua, Jesus, in the Bible is hypocrisy. You're saying one thing and you're not walking that walk. And the fact is, you're going to continue being the person that says the thing and doesn't actually embody it until you create the safety in your body that can, both in the good and in both in the expansion and the contraction. You have to feel safe in both. You have to learn to surrender in both. So the work for me always comes back into the body. The word becomes flesh all the way into incarnation. And our job is to create the safety in the body so that it can move through you. And on that note, we're going to go into the body here for a second. So I invite you to just find yourself in a nice, comfortable position. We're going to bring this into the body. We're going to close our eyes if it feels comfortable to do so. Just let yourself arrive in your body before you try to understand everything that just came through. Because just like in the book of Revelation, anything that is really meant for you, that resonates, it's going to be easy. The eating of the scroll is easy. The hearing of the words is easy. The part that hurts is bringing it into the belly, is digesting it. It's letting it integrate because it takes time to build the capacity. We're going to start by slowly inhaling, gently exhaling through the mouth. And again, through the nose and out through the mouth. Just feel the chair beneath you. Maybe feeling the floor beneath your feet. Feeling the weight of your body that is divinely held without you having to ask the chair, the surface beneath, to hold you. There's nothing to force or become here. There's just this moment, just this breath. I want you to just notice where your body is gripping right now. Maybe it's your shoulders. On the exhale, you can drop them a little bit more. Maybe it's your jaw. Maybe dropping tongue for down from the roof of your mouth. Maybe it's your belly. We are so good at constantly bracing for impact. As we exhale here, I invite you to just release it. Release all those expectations that you're bracing for. Just allow your awareness to just touch all those tensions in your body and just release them just a little bit. Just breathe into the places that still believe that they have to hold themselves together on their own. Slow inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Each exhale just landing a little deeper into the body. And as we inhale, we're going to inhale safety. We're going to exhale control. We're going to inhale openness. We're going to exhale any of that gripping that is still here. You're going to let your nervous system begin to really soften around the unknown. Because you're learning how to remain present without needing certainty first. And I want you to notice as we sit here, as we breathe into the body, just begin to notice how often your mind wants to rush ahead to solve something. Maybe you're thinking about something you have to do later today or later this week, to predict what this teaching is going to bring forth, to interpret it the right way, to grasp for signs that it is actually for you. And every time your mind goes ahead, I want you to gently return back to your body. That's the work. I want you to return back to the breath, back to the now. Because Pentecost was not just this moment where Spirit appeared. It is the moment that the body becomes safe enough to hold what had already been trying to enter it. I want you to feel that. You never had to chase revelation. You only had to become available and safe enough to let it land. breathe in a little slower now, lengthening the inhale through the nose, lengthening the exhale through the mouth. In, out. In, out. So imagine your body softening open like a doorway. Softening, not collapsing, just simply allowing life, allowing this present moment, the presence, God, consciousness itself to start moving through you without gripping it, without you trying to own it. Remain open without needing to become special through it. It's just about openness. It's about presence. Notice what begins to happen when you stop resisting this, stop resisting the moment. Notice the actual awareness that's underneath the identity that we have. The observer that lives underneath the activation and the trigger. The stillness that still lives beneath the movement of excitement. And I want you to breathe there. You're not fear. You're not the activation in the moment of fear. You are the awareness witnessing it. You are not the wound. You are the consciousness that's capable of holding it with love. Slowly inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Let the body feel safe enough to receive whatever it's meant to right now. Safe enough to expand, to hold the expansion, to stay open in it, to stay safe enough to enjoy the joy, the love, maybe the visibility, the abundance that you're calling it, truth. Notice what we always needed was to release the gripping, even in the expansion, to feel safe enough to sit in it, to allow, to stay. Feel that breath moving through your heart center, through your chest. And as you breathe into that place, that intersection of the divine and of the human experience that lives within each and every one of us, I want you to feel with each breath the body becoming softer, more trusting. And for one final moment here, we're going to just simply rest in the heart. No chasing anything, just staying, just breathing. Maybe noticing the rise and the fall as you breathe, maybe feeling your heartbeat. Feeling the presence. Noticing that maybe this was the miracle all along. Not escaping the body, but finally allowing spirit in so that it can live within the body. Take one final deep breath in and a slow exhale out. And whenever you are ready here, maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes, rolling your head and shoulders, slowly opening your eyes, coming back into the room. Just a moment here to settle. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I will be moving forward, cutting off the coaching aspect of this, the community aspect, the live interactive aspect of it. If you're interested in being able to come in and talk to other people that are moving through this energy that want to just talk about what's going on in the week, to really start their week in communion with each other and with God and with self, then please make sure you're joining our Mystic Misfits community. There's a Zoom link inside of there. I will be probably doing this live as well, the teaching portion of it once I get back from Europe mid-summer. But for now, it's going to be just living strictly in the podcast and strictly in the Mystic Misfits community. But I would love to see you inside of Zoom, because my favorite part is not jumping on here and having downloads and allowing them to move through me however they're meant to and putting them up here for you. My favorite part is actually in the allowing myself to witness you so I can witness what's like really living there. So I would love to meet all of you. I would love to see you inside of Breath of God. So if you haven't already, jump into school, join the Mystic Misfits. I will see you inside. If this topic really resonated with you and you realized, holy shit, I need to build the capacity, that is what Becoming the Word is for. So if you're interested, I'm actually going to drop a link below. I'm going to add a discount code. So make sure, if you want to really live this and embody it, drop in there and join Becoming the Word. It is basically building the capacity to stay. Maybe you've already had a mystical experience and you haven't stabilized. This is how you do it. I'm going to walk you through it over 6 weeks. So happy to have you here. Excited too. I'm going to make some assumptions. See you inside of the Zoom call, inside of the community. And thank you. I love you. I'll see you in the next spiral.